this grizzly bear, which was named Monarch had a very tragic life captivity. He lived in a concrete cage for 22 years. And many people said that later in his life, he seemed depressed. He seemed despondent. He didn't seem very happy at all, like he missed the wild. And he was just sitting there in this cage all day long with people peeking in and looking at him. And he just seemed sad and lonely. Hi, this is Anita from the Dusty Roads podcast. Today we want to go to the great state of California, which is actually the state that I was born in. Have you ever wondered why the California flag has a grizzly bear on it? And did you ever wonder what the meaning was behind that flag? So today I want to tell you a really interesting story. In fact, I didn't know about this until I started writing a blog about it entitled, "What is the California flag with the bear mean?" And then I really am fascinated with this story. So the California flag with the bear has actually been a flag that's had a lot of controversy with it because people have wondered, why is there a bear on the flag when actually grizzly bears are pretty much now, I think they're extinct in the state of California. And so they want to know, why would there be a grizzly bear on the California flag? Why wouldn't there be something else? Well, there's a story that goes with the history of the flag, which makes it a very interesting history. The story of the flag starts in 1846, when California was still officially a territory of Mexico. At the time, there was a group of Americans that came from the east, and they came to California, to the Mexican California territory. It was also during this time that the famous gold rush of California was starting. So many people were hearing about the gold that could be found in Northern California and were starting to come to the California area. One group of American settlers in Northern California decided they would band together and capture the city of Sonoma from the Mexican government and declare it independent and part of the United States. So they did this. They got the city for a short time, and the Republic of California was then formed. But like any type of republic, they needed a flag. So, here's this group of these settlers that they hastily made a banner with a red star, a red line, and a very crudely drawn animal that was supposed to be a grizzly bear. Now, the people who designed this flag, they were not designers. They were ranchers, adventurers. They were farmers. And they really didn't have much artistic skill. But they chose the grizzly bear for several reasons. One, because at the time, grizzly bears were extremely common in the California territory. In fact, many of them said that they couldn't go more than a mile on a horse without seeing a grizzly bear. So the grizzly bear was the one animal that they kept seeing everywhere in especially the Northern California area. They knew that the grizzly bear was dangerous. They knew that it was fierce. They knew that people were afraid of it. So they thought, if we place it on the flag, this is going to show the Mexican authorities that they know that they were serious about their independence from Mexico. Well, their independence was actually quite short-lived. It didn't last very long, but it was actually a few years later, in 1850, that California was officially declared a state of the United States. But sadly, as the state of California, continued to grow and as more people began to come in, the grizzly bear population of California began to dwindle rapidly. In 1889, William Hearst, who was the newspaper mogul, wanted to bring the grizzly bear back into the spotlight of California. So he decided, as a publicity stunt, that he wanted to bring a California grizzly bear to San Francisco so it could be put on view for everyone to see. So he chose one of his journalists, Alan Kelly. We don't know why he chose Alan Kelly, because Alan Kelly, by all accounts, didn't seem like he was much of a hunter. We don't even know if he'd ever seen a grizzly bear, if he even knew one looked like. And he certainly wasn't someone who was able to track and do all those things that need to be done to be able to have the experience, to be able to find a grizzly bear, to bring the grizzly bear back. So he spent months trying to find a grizzly bear. He hired many people, then he fired many people. He was upset with many people. He was very upset because he was not able to find a grizzly bear. It was not until he finally hired a group of Mexican hunters that they helped him to find the grizzly bear that he needed. The bear he captured was taken to the Golden Gate Park, where he was put on display. they didn't capture like a small grizzly bear or a baby grizzly bear. No, they captured a grizzly bear that weighed 1,200 pounds. This was a huge grizzly bear. He was a giant grizzly bear that was now being held captive in San Francisco. At least 20,000 people showed up for his arrival to see this mammoth of a grizzly bear. But the truth is that this grizzly bear, which was named Monarch had a very tragic life captivity. He lived in a concrete cage for 22 years. And many people said that later in his life, he seemed depressed. He seemed despondent. He didn't seem very happy at all, like he missed the wild. And he was just sitting there in this cage all day long with people peeking in and looking at him. And he just seemed sad and lonely. In fact, Alan Kelly, who had captured Monarch, would many times go to see Monarch. And this is what the legend says, that he would sit outside his cage and he'd apologize to Monarch, and he would tell Monarch how much he regretted capturing him, placing him in a cage, and bringing him out of the wild. Well, Monarch finally died after 22 years in that cage in San Francisco in 1911. His body was taken and and it was stuffed. And so he could be put on display at the California Academy of Sciences. But it just so happened that during the same year that California needed to adopt a new state flag. So California decided, being kind of a bit of an independent state still during this time, decided to take its cue from the 1846 revolt and adopt a flag that was similar to the original flag that had been adopted. So they decided to make the California grizzly bear the flag's focal point. But this time, they really wanted the bear to look like a bear and not be kind of the crude drawing that the original settlers did. So they decided that they would use the body of Monarch as a model for the bear on the California flag. So in other words, we could say that Monarch has been forever immortalized on the California flag. The flag has had a lot of controversy because of the fact that, it says the California Republic on it. It, has a bear on it that's been extinct, and that this bear was held in an inhumane way for so many years. But despite this, the flag still does remain a very powerful symbol of the California independence and California pride. And it does very much remain this because it shows the spirit of these first settlers that came to California, these adventurers, these farmers, these people with the gold rush, these people who were the ranchers, these all these people who were the real adventurers who came to this wild territory of California during that time, and that they set up this flag and made their independence, that the flag does show the spirit of those people who came to California, and actually in who we are indebted to today, that California is a state of the United States and is part of the United States. So the California bear flag, may not speak to everyone. It may not be a flag that everyone likes, but it does serve as an important reminder of California's past and its very diverse, if not sometimes a little bit controversial history. And that is the story of the California bear flag and how a bear that is now extinct in the state of California ended up to be a symbol of the state of California. This is Anita from the Dusty Roads podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you being part of our community. If you'd like to hear more, we'd love to have you subscribe and be part of us. We will put in our podcast description the blog post, which is what does the California flag with the bear mean? If you'd like to be able to read more about the California flag and actually see a picture of the flag, which is quite an interesting state flag to see. We'd like to thank our team who puts this together for us, especially Rico. We'd like to thank you for listening. We want you to know that we do appreciate you so much. Thank you.